less effective in the past in the last 10 years. Bonds. So when you're actually lending money to a government or corporation, you get a bond. Essentially, a bond is a loan or a long-term IOU. Certifies that you loan money to an organization, government, or a corporation, and describes the terms. As with most loans, the borrower pays interest to the lenders. In this case, you're the lender. So, interest payments are usually fixed. So when you invest in a bond, you would expect to find regular fixed income payments. Now, if you sold it prior to maturity, the bond, it could be worth more or less than your original cost. So there is some interest rate risks. Bonds are sensitive to change in interest rates. As interest rates rise, the value of existing bonds fell. And does anyone know where interest rates are now historically? Are they historically high or are they historically low? Yeah, they are actually historically low. So, if interest rates start going up like we had last year, what happens to the prices of bonds? Yeah, they actually do go down, even if it's called a riskless bond, like a government bond. They tend to be very interest rate sensitive, and in the short term, their prices are very affected by how much interest rates go up and down. So, that's something you have to consider. Plus, there's also default risk in bonds. With federal government securities, that's very low to, U.S. government securities, that's almost non-existent. It's a little higher with municipalities, but it's not as high as people tend to think. Companies are very good to very poor, depending on their condition. So there's a lot of different flavors when it comes to corporate bonds. Then there's income mutual funds. Essentially professional management, low initial investment, and diversification. Basically, you're taking the same type of structures instead of buying the individual bonds yourself and trying to understand what the credit ratings and all the other pieces work. You can pay someone to actually do it for you. Generally, these have, with the diversifications, the risks tend to be lower, but they have the same risks as the individual bonds that we talked about earlier. Dividend paying stocks, is another way of generating income. Some companies distribute part or up to even 90% of their profits in the form of a dividend. Rather than keep the profits to fuel internal growth, these companies decide to return the profits to shareholders. So you know that the dividends are paid at the discretion of the directors. Dividends can increase, dividends can decrease, dividends can be eliminated. Most famous example recently is GE's dividend dropped dramatically when the new CEO took over. So now, qualified corporate dividends are taxed at the same rate as long-term capital gains, though most ones are non-qualified and they're added to your regular income. So the dividends in many cases won't be as tax efficient as what you may expect from bonds. Then there's annuities. There's many variations of these products. There's insurance-based. They're insurance-based. They have competitive rates of returns. There's no federal contribution limits, no mandatory distributions. And you can, in a lot of them, participate in the market. And there are options for guaranteed lifetime income. So there are many types of annuities, but let's just skip over that for now. So let's take a look here, and let's look at a hypothetical situation. 65 years old, $700,000 in retirement portfolio invested in employer stock and CDs. They're concerned about outliving their money, and they need to decide how to generate income from their portfolio. So one strategy is they could invest $400,000 of the original $700,000 portfolio into company stock, corporate bonds, treasury bills, and real estate. And then purchase $300,000 in an immediate fixed annuity that generates $1,740 per month. It provides stability, and one thing that's nice, it's income they cannot outlive. So if we take a look at the original portfolio, the company stock, you had $450,000 and it gave a 3% dividend, which ends up being $13,500. And then CDs at a 2% rate were earning 5%, so they were getting $18,500 in annual income out of this portfolio. Now if we diversify it and keep $100,000 of the company stock, $100,000 of corporate bonds, 10-year and treasury bills, and real estate, and then add the fixed annuity, put the rest of the money, the other $300,000 in a fixed annuity annual payment, you actually take the income from $18,500 to $33,000, almost $34,000 a year, and that $20,000 is actually guaranteed for life. So you increase your income by for almost double, and you actually decrease your risk. So the result is you get a more diversified portfolio, greater stability, and nearly double the income. And even with life insurance, if it's appropriate for you, it can actually work out to be even better tax-wise and income-wise. So the fourth item on the list is to prepare for the unexpected. The unexpected could be many things. Let's discuss this. This is an example of what I would call the two most common retirement killing problems I've experienced. What is this? Well, it's the effect of not having long-term care insurance. There's a scenario here that the husband had a stroke and they eventually incurred almost $276,000 in long-term care costs. Now, many think that Medicare covers long-term care, but after the first 100 days, you are on your own. So if you look, there's their projected income and how long their money would last before the crisis, but after the crisis, instead of their income lasting projected to age 86, it's actually coming in near age 77 is when they're running out of money. To avoid a similar to avoid this, you need to take some measure. You need to think about your long-term care needs, health care coverage, and have an estate as combination on your estate. Now, the cost of long-term care, national average as when this was written is $97,455 a year. Ohio is about $91,000 now as it's shown on here, but depending on the states it can be higher. Plus, if you get into memory care, either Alzheimer's or dementia, the price definitely goes up if that happens. So, to protect yourself from this, what are your options? Well, there's self-insure, where if you have enough money, you can insure yourself and take the hit. There's Medicaid. Now, if you do use the Medicaid option, they're going to require you to spend down your assets to basically a poverty level, and you're going to be broke afterwards. Also, you can take out long-term care insurance. Healthcare costs are also another thing. There's another concern for retirees. Healthcare costs generally have increased faster inflation, as shown above. Some are fortunate to have health insurance in retirement, but as the GE client I talked about earlier, it isn't guaranteed. Companies may choose not to provide it. So, now the estate conversation. If you happen to have net worth above 11.18 million, then that is one estate conversation, and most people think that that's the most likely. But in my experience, the biggest factor is actually divorce. When you have a family, you think the marriages are going to survive a long time. You think your kids' marriages are strong. But in a case of one of my clients, the husband of one of their daughters came home and just said he wanted a divorce. And it came out of nowhere. They were all heartbroken. Fortunately, they hadn't, the parents were still alive because they're alive, and also because the that they could still protect their family by using, estates. One of the things is that you can put money in what's called an irrevocable trust, and it can protect your assets that you give to your kids for their life against divorce and other creditor attachments and things like that. We can discuss this more later, but having all this in place will protect you and protect your family. Got to work on that slide too. Okay. Now, if you need if you're above the 12 million, we can talk about an irrevocable life insurance trust. If you need it, we can discuss this. So, we've covered a lot of information. We're confident that we've given you some important strategies to help you make educated decisions about how to develop an income stream for your assets to fund for your retirement. So where do you go from here? Finally, action 5 is get some help. There's really no need to take this journey alone. Great journeys and great were mainly done by teams. Here's an example of Lewis and Clark, the Shackleton expedition that found the South Pole. And there's the Fellowship of the Ring. But also there's Kirk and Spock. And finally, I just want to let you know, for many years I was a scientist in my previous career, and I am your Spock. And I want to set you up to be Kirk. So when we have these strange new adventures, I'll be your Spock, giving you data and keeping you on track. So, our first meeting. So what's going to happen? What will I learn that's new? How long will it take? What shall I bring? Will I try to sell you anything? And how will I feel when it's over? Where will we do it? And what will the next steps be? Well, it's going to be great. You'll get a chance to talk. You'll learn some new ideas. You'll get to see where we work, and you'll meet my team. You'll get something valuable, and you will have a positive experience. Now, don't miss out on the chance. One of the things I said early on is when you came tonight, that this was going to be an educational workshop and I wasn't going to sell you anything. Well, that's not really true. I do want to sell you on something. I want to sell you on you. I want you to sell you on the belief that you can meet all of your retirement goals, that you can take control of your future. Listen, retirement can be confusing and potentially dangerous, and as we said at the start of this night, for 80 million Americans, retirement is uncharted water. But there are totally new risks and many critical decisions that need to be made that will have a huge impact on your life and your family's future. But none of this is beyond you. You have the power to succeed. So with knowledge, a solid plan, and some discipline, you can navigate these retirement waters safely and have fun doing it. You've all worked hard, and you deserve to have the time of your life. The ideas from this workshop can help you tremendously. They can make fear and stress go away, because I know that's what you're doing, why you're doing it, and where it'll lead you. Best part about this is you're not alone. You do not have to go on this journey alone. For over the past decade, my team and I have had the privilege of helping hundreds of great people enjoy this wonderful time in their lives, and we'd love to help you. So here's an appointment card. If you could please fill it out, and we can add, fill it out, and then we'd like to set up a following meeting. Well, you're going like, well, you may say, I already have an advisor. Well, that's great. If you have an advisor, if you're here, you're obviously looking for more information or a second opinion. And all I'm really here to do is help you figure out what you need to do to have the successful retirement and use a lot of these tools that I talked about to make sure that to the highest probability you may meet that success. So I'd like to end here. Are there any questions? Okay. All right. I just finished.